Good evening. I'm the Fit Lawyer ATL, and I'm so happy that you're joining me tonight. Hey, Monique Evans. We are, I'm so excited. So, tonight we're going to be talking about how these prosecutors play games to manipulate and force things in court. We're going to talk about YSL Obama, and we saw him testify on the stand tonight. We're also going to talk about Diddy and his new motion for bond and kind of what he shows us, his attorneys show us about the actual case. You know, we had this amazing press conference before the world where they talked about all this stuff that they had against him and all the evidence. And in the bond motion that was filed on the 8th, his attorneys are calling cap. The prosecutors are actually bolstering their case in hearings prior to discovery being served. But once everything actually gets reviewed by their attorneys, they're not seeing exactly what they're saying. So we're going to get into it tonight. I have missed you all. Yes, hello, Kita G. Thank you for coming in. Yes, everyone, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hey, Shay L. Under oath, thank you for joining me tonight. I have missed you guys. It's been a couple of weeks since I've gone live on my own channel, and I'm just so excited to just be back into things. So, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of imposter syndrome. Has anyone ever heard of that before? But basically, it occurs when you just basically start having self-doubt that you're not capable of doing something that you've already been successful at doing, but it starts to create a fear and you can't go on. Keita G says, yep. And a lot of high power professional women, we deal with that in our jobs. We deal with it as being attorneys. We deal with it in going to court. Yes, Monique, I'm so glad to be back. And I dealt with it here. Like, it was one thing to be in Lee's chat, to be on lives with him, but to have membership go from 66 to 6K in a week, do 3 lives. They have over like 20 some thousand views. I got nervous. I got scared. I started taking Lee's class and I started seeing like all the stuff I had to learn and do, the equipment, the cameras, the lights. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't have it perfect yet. So I just felt like I had to be perfect to come back. And imposter syndrome set in heavy, y'all. I just got so nervous and scared and just fearful to come back. Like, am I really built for this? Am I really cut out? Can I really provide enough content and creativeness and knowledge that people will like to hear? And it's set in. Like Keita G said, she's a corporate attorney in America, and the struggle's real. We all deal with this. So I have some great people around me, and they poured into me, and I said, come on, you got to get out of that. So here I'm back. So I will be back much more consistently. I interviewed Rachel Kaufman for a segment of our show tonight. I am working on setting up some interviews with some of the attorneys from the YSL trial. So I'm excited. So expect to see a lot more from me. You all were such a blessing. Jalen says good. Yes, I'll be back. Gotten the channel fully monetized in a week. So we're able to set up the memberships are starting. So I'll be doing some exclusive behind the scene content that only members can have access to. Super chats and stuff are live. So it's just been a lot of changes really quickly. So I am so grateful to see you all here. Hit the like button as you come in. And we are going to get into it. Keita G says, no need to be nervous. Get rid of that perfectionism. I am working on it, Keita G. Like, I got to hit my therapist up so we can put that on the agenda. It's not neat. Yes, I am just going to be me and not worry about perfection. That's what you all fell in love with. So we're back to it. Darlene, yes, giving you courage. That's what it's all about. Like, I just really want to motivate people because a lot of us are all striving to achieve our own goals, our own dreams, in our own life. It may not be YouTube. It may be a promotion at your job. It may be something else that you want to attain. And you can let fear just keep you away from what God has destined for your life. So I hope that I can encourage you to put that fear and doubt away. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get started, build it as you grow it, and just give the people what they want. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So this YSL trial, it definitely has changed since a lot of 4 of the defendants have pled out, but we still got 2 more fighting for their life. And Doug and Max are doing a great job. And I think because it's only 2 defendants now, we can really see how weak the state's case is, right? We are able to see how much evidence they don't have against these guys. That's so right, GB. That's a favorite quote of mine. To whom much is given, much is required. You are so right. But yeah, we're able to see that the state's struggling in this case. They went with confusion this week. We're talking about force and manipulation today and how they are forcing people to testify. We saw YSL Obama get on the stand this week and testify. So nervous. And we're going to talk about why he was nervous, because it was more than just the factual allegations that the state was hanging over his head. We saw Miss Taisha Alexander be forced to testify this week and get on the stand. We're going to talk about the force and manipulation there, and we're going to hear from her attorney as well. And we're also going to talk about how the state uses force and manipulation, like even in the Diddy case. I know everyone remembers that press conference that they did. And when we heard that press conference, we were like, oh, throw Diddy under the jail. Like, under the jail. But now that we're starting to get the bond motions after discovery's been served, the state's case is looking kind of thin. So we're going to get into that tonight. So who's still following the trial? Let me know in the chat. Doug and Max, we got to keep showing up and giving them support. What are y'all thinking? Are y'all feeling like the state has been able to, they only got 2 defendants now, right? So it should be much easier to get us the evidence that we need to see and the jurors need to see to convict the last 2. Do you feel like the state is doing that? See, Curly Lock Diva says she's still following. What do you think? Are we seeing more evidence, or are we seeing more of the bullshit, right? More of them trying to throw everything against the wall, trying to make a case. What does Monique say? We keep forgetting not only are there only 2 defendants left, yes, Monique, but there's also a group of young men who haven't even been to trial yet or had their attorneys yet, who the state says are YSL members too. And Monique Evans is exactly right. There are, I believe, 12 other defendants that are still waiting to go to trial on this case. What's going to happen with their case? Remember, it was 28 in the initial indictment, and some took pleas prior. Some went to trial here, and there were people like Monique states that were still waiting on attorneys. Some of their attorneys got locked up during the prosecution, so they got to get new attorneys assigned, or the cases were severed for that reason. But there's still 12 others. So while we have Shannon SB and Yak Gotti still on trial, we still have 12 others that are facing charges for this bullshit of a case, right? Because they haven't been able to present enough evidence against the 6 they tried in this case. So what other evidence do they have against the other 12, especially when the big fish, Young Thug, is home? He is home with his family, and the trial is still going on. But we were told by the state that he was the wolf of the pack, the strength of the pack. It's amazing to me. Right. Jalen says the state needs to stop. They are. GB, the state is grasping at this point. Justin J says, I think each piece of evidence presented has plenty of reasonable doubt due to the botchy investigation. That is exactly right. And Woody talked about that when he was on the stand, right? He's like, and even during his interviews, like, APD did a horrible investigation. I mean, the crimes that we're hearing about occurred in 2014, 15, 16, 7. It's not even new shit. And the investigators and the detectives, they don't even work for APD anymore. They're bringing back people from the pen to testify. Shout out Mr. Big. Like, it's just ridiculous. And we still don't see Rico. Like Monique Evans says, where's Rico? And King Slime is home. He is home. The big fish is home. Like, as a juror, I'm sorry. If I come back from an 11-day hiatus and I see the big fish is home, and clearly they know he's taking a plea to get home. So one of the jurors said that one of her girlfriends walked in and said, told her that he was home, right? She might not know the particulars, but they know he's home. So what am I gonna do with these other guys if the person you told me was the big fish is home? It's crazy. So hit the like button, and we're gonna get into it. So YSL Obama testified this week, and seeing him testify really broke my heart, right? He was so nervous, swinging in the chair, sipping on his water. I mean, he would speak and you could literally hear his breath shaking. He was so nervous. He actually told the prosecutor that he was super nervous on the stand. And so we're going to take a look at that. Like, even his walk to the stand show how nervous he was. And now we're going to talk about the sentence he's under. I can't find the factual allegations he signed. They were not filed in the court record. So I don't know exactly what he was supposed to testify to, but we're going to look at the transcript from his plea and go over what Ms. Hilton says he was supposed to bring to this case. And it's really unfortunate that he took a plea to conspiracy when all we kept hearing was other people telling him to do stuff, but he never did anything to follow through with it. And this whole case just really highlights, and I hope you all see it, it highlights just how you can get caught up in this system and end up with convictions for things that they never had the evidence to be able to prove that you did in the first place. All right. Yes, he didn't want to end up like Montung. I'm sure that was all he was thinking about. And not only was he under a plea, the state has already filed to revoke his probation prior to his testimony. We are going to get into that as well. Let me bring up just the beginning of his testimonies. This is just the moments that started to break my heart. It was just so unfortunate to see him go through this. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen. I think I did it right. Yes. Okay. And let me play.
Yes, sir. Antonio Sumner, ANTONIO SUMLIN.
And Mr. Sumner, how old are you?
34.
And are you employed?
Not right now.
Where are you from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
And what part of Atlanta?
The Cleveland Avenue area.
Okay. And if you're gonna swing the shot, you speak in your mic. So are you a little nervous?
A little.
A lot. Okay. Well, don't swing in your chair just so that the jurors can hear you. Okay. Did you say you're from the Cleveland Avenue area?
Yes, ma'am.
From start, you can see it. He's swinging in his chair. His voice is already shaking from start. Isn't this crazy? Like, as a juror, are you willing to take what this person is saying as hard fact evidence to use against these guys when he's nervous walking to the stand? He's nervous sitting there, and you know that he's only here because they're hanging time over his head. You all see the DOJ has just launched an investigation into the Fulton County Jail. That's going to be a whole nother stream. But this jail is horrible. The conditions are horrible. The deputies cannot keep the inmates safe. So these are the conditions that he's in at the time that he enters a plea. And then they haul him into court to force him to testify by hanging jail time back into the very conditions he took the plea to escape from. It was just heartbreaking to watch. And then later on, Ms. Hilton, as she's cross-examining him, she starts to kind of try to impeach him on testimony that he provided in these factual allegations, right? She reminds him, she asked him, I remember it was about the web, this I guess they kind of painted it as like a trap spot, right? A home that was purchased by Mr. Williams for YSL members to, as YSL Obama states, to basically have a place to lay their head at, right? but they want to paint the picture that this is the spot that the gang would sell drugs out of. So that was part of the factual allegations that he signed at the time of his plea. And when he's asked on the stand, he fumbles, right? He doesn't want to really admit that because he doesn't believe that that's his truth. He tries to speak the truth. And then what we're going to see is when Ms. Hilton actually approaches the stand with the factual allegations that he admitted to during his plea and forces him to say exactly what they want him to say, which is evidence that they're going to use against Shannon and Gotti. And it's just, I just want you all to see that this happens every day. Like, this is a case that is being shown to the world, but this type of thing happens every day.
Number 14. Here, the house on Browns Mill Road, is that referred to as the web?
I said it.
All right. Looking at number 13, does that say YSL members sold drugs from their home at 2539 Browns Mill Road, Atlanta, Georgia?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you initial that right there?
I did.
And did you initial that as a factual acknowledgement in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you again. Did YSL members sell drugs from their home?
Objection on
Answer. You can answer.
Like, even though just it wasn't just YSL member allowed there. Like, it just, like, what you saying? Have I ever seen somebody sell drugs out of the web?
I just asked, did YSL members sell drugs from the web?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to.
Isn't that crazy? I think someone said, like, as a juror, you would feel that the factual acknowledgments seem coerced, right? Because if it's the truth, he should be able to feel comfortable enough to, when asked, just spit it out, right? He's already taken a plea to him, but the fact that they are choking on these words and not wanting to just say it is because the factual allegations are not their own words. The prosecutors drafted these factual allegations and presented them as part of the plea deal that you had to admit to this or you're going to stay in jail. He had already got arrested, May 2022. So he would still be in jail. He would possibly be on trial if he had not taken the plea. And we heard the jail phone calls played where he's getting told by someone in the jail about how to go set up a robbery, and then how a guy's asking about telling him to get in touch with Slime, right, who we would assume is Jeffrey Williams, and see if he could get permission and how much he would get paid for doing something to YF and Lucci, because he had been placed in protective custody with him, right? But he never acted on any of that stuff. He never took any steps to make the crimes happen. He never called Mr. Williams to see how much the money would be for him to get paid. Like, he never had to do those things, but we find that he still took a plea to those things. He still took a plea before the court and was forced to testify about those things, even though he didn't actually make them happen. I'm going to pull up, and we'll see if this works. Yep, that's me. I'm going to pull up his plea transcript, and I want you all to take a look at this and just see. Now, it does not have the factual allegations because I was not able to find those. I don't know where the state has the factual allegations. So far, it just seems like him and his attorney were the only ones that were able to see that. But this is what whatever DA took his plea said to the judge that he would be adding to this trial. These are the things that he is required to testify to and how they felt like he could help them out in this case. And I just want to go, I see them, but I don't see them on the screen. So I must not be doing something right. Hold on. I must be choosing the wrong screen to share. How do I? Okay, let me stop. Let me figure this out because I'm standing on my side. Share screen. Oh, there we go. All right. So, okay, I think we got it good. Okay, so this is a piece of the plea transcript that YSL Obama did with the court when he entered his plea. So these are the things. Now, we heard him testify. So it pretty much seemed that what they said in here, he did testify to those things on the stand. So they were telling the court. Now, this isn't even like his words. Your Honor, specifically how Mr. Sumlin will contribute to the enterprise is that we have a number of Instagram postings of him. The first being when he was incarcerated between 2014 and 2017. He came home from prison. They have a picture of him, Sorry, it's a video. And in that video is one of the co-defendants, Jeffrey Williams, and they posted this on social media with a tag that says original slime shit. Like, that's why he's in this indictment. They also say they have imagery posted on social media with him wearing red clothing that said MASA, which is a play on MAGA, which means Make America Slime Again. And then he has several tattoos identifying YSL on his body. Do we hear Rico yet? Like, this is what he adds to the case. They have a couple of other postings of this defendant with other members of YSL posted on the internet. And then specifically, two of the crimes he's charged with in this indictment are actual telephone calls. And we heard those calls, right? There was someone asking him to commit a robbery and see how much they could get paid for harming YFN Lucci, but he never did anything. And they actually say that in this transcript. I'm going to scroll down. They actually talk about Christian Eppinger asking for permission to harm YFN Lucci. And they also state that on the phone call that he agreed to seek permission from Slime, but it does not appear that it ever took place. So they know at the time that he took his plea that the things that he was asked to do, he never did. Y'all, why is he charged? Second phone call was about a co-defendant asking him to rob or kill an individual known as Head. He is provided with a phone number to set up this robbery. And they later find out who the person is, who Head is, it's Harold Bennett. And they learned that there was nothing that happened to Mr. Bennett afterwards. So this was an agreement on the telephone. However, it does not appear anything happened. This is what is on the record as part of his plea. It just doesn't sit right that they should be able to charge this man for getting on the phone, for having a conversation with some people and never taking any steps to make the conspiracy happen. And now he's 15 years probation and being forced to testify. Like, this is crazy that they're able to do this type of thing. But this is what the prosecutor's office can do. They can force and manipulate things. So basically, they created his factual allegations to give the evidence that they wanted and needed to come out in this case. So they basically said, take this plea, say the things that we have typed up that we need you to say in this case at trial, and go home. But he really didn't do anything, right? He posted some pictures. He had some phone calls. He didn't ever take a step to make any of that happen. And this man is now convicted of 4 felonies, including the RICO, and under 15 years of probation. It's just amazing that these can happen. Oh, shout out. Oh, we got Chi-Town Carrie. Thank you so much. Gifted 5 memberships. Let me go up and see how to put that on. Thank you so much. Thank you. And the 5 memberships that she has gifted are the first 5 members for this channel. Thank you so much, Chi-Town Carrie, for your support. I really appreciate that. It's Michelle says, do you think this entire case against all of them will be thrown out because Glanville was the judge for pleas? That's a good question. However, his recusal didn't come until the trial was starting, right? So you can't go back and undo, because at the time that the pleas were entered, trial hadn't started, so he wasn't showing a bias that we are aware of, right? So I guess if that bias is alleged, then maybe they could file a habeas petition and challenge their pleas, but he wasn't ruled to be biased and recused until once the trial started. So that was after the pleas. Malik, let me go back up. Just trying to catch this. All right. Mango Gelato sends a super sticker for $9.99. Thank you so much, Mango Gelato. Thank you. Thank you for sending that. I greatly appreciate it. That is my first super sticker ever. So I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Monique, tell them they're part of the first members, right? Because membership just literally got approved and started today. Thank you, Jalen. Jalen sends $10. What does she say? Great job, Fit. So happy you are back. Thank you, Jalen. I am so happy to be back. I can't believe that I ever let that much time pass living in self-doubt. So let me be an example to others not to do that for yourself. So thank you so much, Jalen, for welcoming me back. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for sending me my first super chat, first set of memberships, and first super thanks. You all are amazing. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. We are, Monique, yes, we are at 117 likes. Y'all are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all my moderators. Thank you for coming into the chat, liking this channel. Please share and subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, let me get back into it. Okay, we got Curvy Lock Diva. She's a new member. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. So glad to have you here. Okay. Thank you so much, Piper. She says, you are more than qualified as an active lawyer for 20 years. You provide great insight, and I love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Piper. Thank you so much. And that's the thing with the imposter syndrome. Like, you'll be totally qualified, but that self-doubt just creeps in. So I am going to continue to put that doubt to the side and show up for you all and provide everything that I can just to help, because that's the whole point. Like, I really want to be able to help and just educate so that we can avoid and keep as many people as we can out the system, because as you all see, it is not fair at all. What I want to show you is how weeks prior to YSL Obama actually testifying, that the state had already filed a motion to have his probation revoked. Already. Y'all remember with Moontoon now. Moontoon had the opportunity to get on the stand, testify. He did some, playing around with it, and they filed a motion after he testified to have his probation revoked. But Antonio Sumlin put himself in a position to allow the state to do theirs prior to his testimony. You want to know why? Can anybody guess why the state was able to file a motion to revoke Antonio Sumlin's probation prior to him testifying? Can anybody guess? And this is probably why they gave out these probation deals in the beginning, because they knew that it was going to be an opportunity for them to mess up. And Michelle, I don't know if it's Michelle or Michelle, but she got it right. He shoplifted. Can y'all believe it? A misdemeanor shoplifting in DeKalb County, August 8th, my birthday, 2024. He was arrested for shoplifting. So anytime you get new charges when you're already on probation, the state has the right, the legal right, to file a motion to revoke that probation. And that means that the judge will bring you back before her, and decide if they are going to put you back in jail, because probation is a gift, right? Your sentence was 15, his sentence is 15 years. And the judge says, instead of making you serve the 15 years in prison, I'm going to allow you to serve that on probation. But a condition of probation is not to violate any of the crimes. I don't know any of the facts of the shoplifting in the cab because I don't have access to that police report yet, although I can get it. But I see that it's a misdemeanor. So that means we're talking about something under $500. I cannot imagine knowing that you have 15 years over your head. What happens? However, to his defense now, he's innocent until proven guilty. And arrests are just harassment by the police, right? Because people are arrested for things all the time that ultimately get dismissed. They get found not guilty of. They go to trial. The jury doesn't convict them. So an arrest doesn't mean that he actually did what he's charged with, but that is what allowed the state to be able to file this revocation hearing prior to him testifying. Oh, I need my buzzer. Keita G, thank you so much. Keita G, what did she say? You're natural at this. Keep pushing. Thank you so much, Keita G. I know that Keita G is another attorney. She practices somewhere up north. Keita, let me know what city you're in. And she's been practicing a long time. She's a corporate lawyer, so it's very different than criminal law. I interned at a corporate law firm prior to going to law school for a year. They had a program for people in between, and I left saying I would never go into corporate law. So hats off to Keita G. It's so much politics in the corporate law, the billable hours that you have to get, the partners that you have to please. It is a lot in corporate law. So shout out to Keita G for being an amazing attorney in corporate law. It was something I did not desire to do. It's a lot of politics in corporate law. So thank you so much, Keita G. I really appreciate that. $49.99. That is amazing. Thank you so much for your support. Got to know Keita G from the lead and AV's chat. So to see that love transferring over here, I'm just so appreciative. Thank you. Thank you so much. But yes, too true. What the heck was he thinking? I know. DJ J says probation's a trap. Yes, it is. The system is a trap. So the key to all of this and what the takeaway is from the YSL trial is to do your best to stay out of the system, because it's not fair. The DA's office in Fulton County has a budget of $55 million a year. $55 million. I mean, Thug was worth, I think, $8 million at the time he got locked up. So they're at how much more than him? And little old us, we're not millionaires at all. So you get caught up in this $1 million system that's designed to send you to prison. And you think probation is a gift, right? Because you're not spending every night in jail. But then now you have to think about what you can't do to be able to avoid going back when it's hanging over your head. It's crazy. And so, yes, probation is definitely a trap. Thank you again, Keita G. Thank you for your support. Hollywood 2000. Thank you for your super sticker, $2. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Shout out to Hollywood 2000. Thank you for supporting the channel. What is Hey at Fit Laurier? I don't know why I didn't. Oh, I know. So glad to see you for always, forever, for life. Thank you for being here with me, one of my mods. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, Keita G's in Boston. Like AV, okay. I didn't realize you were in Boston, but I knew it was up north. So yes. So she's up north. So yeah, corporate law is just totally different. No joke. Shout out to Keita G. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It was time. The lead gave me the TLA effect on that last week of the braids. I was like, calling my stylist like, hey, I need my hair done. So thank you so much. But yeah, so yes, that is crazy. Okay, yes, because I will be having merchandise. I have a shirt in mind, but I'm gonna write that down to say that is crazy, because that is one of my phrases. So yes, I will add that to the list. Thank you, Jalen. Thank you. But yes, y'all, this trial is just so eye-opening, because we see how they are forcing and manipulating people to testify, right? And then, yes, Piper, his testimony was so hard to watch. Like, I just wanted to go into court, go give him a hug, get him off the stand, because his voice was quivering the entire time. It never eased up. And to know the state now, I know some people in the chat may have been on probation before and may have had your probation revoked. And you all know how this process normally goes, right? Normally, probation officer will stick a warrant before the court, and they'll issue a warrant stating that you violated your probation in such and such ways. And then once you're arrested, they will then draw up the petition to get you in the calendar for court, right? However, we see it different here in Antonio Sumlin's place. They filed the petition for him to go to court, but they haven't done the warrant. Why is that? I can't say for certain because I haven't talked to anybody in the DA's office, but I believe that they were hanging the probation over his head. And so not only did you have the factual allegations that you had to testify to, but if you don't get up there and say what we want you to say, you've already given us the key. You've given us the method to do this because you committed a theft by shoplifting. So if you don't do what we want you to do, we will be sending your ass back to jail. You just know that that's what it was, right? Because he was so nervous. And then and they haven't prepped any other witnesses, right? Everybody else has been getting up there just freeballing, right? But she said several times to him, did you see the video that before you testified? Did you review your factual allegations before you testified? Like, they prepped him to get exactly what they wanted to get out of him. Shady, yes, Chi-Town Carrie. They are absolutely shady AF. Shady as fuck. Like, they are. And it's ridiculous. And this happens in every case. It happens in every case. So if you have loved ones that are arrested and get in trouble, just know that decisions they make in the case don't necessarily have anything to do with their innocence or their guilt. But once you're in the system, you just try to make it out alive. You try to make it out with the least amount of restrictions against yourself. You try to make it out without going to jail, because if you got a $55 million system that is against you, what can you do? It's hard to prove a negative. It's hard to prove that you didn't do something. Unless you were like in another state at the same time something else occurred, it's hard to prove that you didn't do something. Thank you. Y'all got my likes up. I love it. I see 136 in the chat right now, 150 likes. That means what? We got a 1-to-1 ratio. I love it. Thank you all so much. So who else did we see testify this week that was forced to testify? And this person isn't even a defendant. Can somebody tell me who we saw that they got forced to testify? Who can tell me? She was not a defendant in this case, and I've given it away because I told you it was a female. We heard from the prettiest girl that Shannon has ever dated in his life, didn't we? And did she want to testify? Keita G. Again, I need my buzzer. The stream sponsor for tonight is Keita G. She says, I think Thug will violate his 15-year probation. Oh, that is not going to be good if he does. She says, I don't see how he'll avoid violating probation and Fonnie not taking his plea deal lightly. She didn't get what she wanted, and it was a slap in her face for Thug to do a non-negotiated plea. And Keita G is exactly right. That was, the state felt like they had him, right? They felt like they offered him an amazing deal. Get out of jail, but you got to testify that YSL is a gang and that your music purports and supports this gang. And he said, hell no. I'm going to go non-negotiating and see what the judge will do. The state, because he wouldn't admit to that YSL was a gang, wanted him to serve 25 years in prison. I think Judge Whitaker saw how ridiculous that was, right? And she gave him time served in probation. But like Keita G said, she doesn't think he will make it. Who else feels that way? Who else thinks that Young Thug will not be successful on his probation? Does anybody else feel that way? Like, I think he has a great chance. I think he stands in a better chance than anyone else because he's rich. He has the means to uproot his family, move to a different city, and not have any issues, I think he can do it. But Keita G seems to think he's not going to make it. Who else thinks that Thug would not make it in his probation? I mean, it's going to be hard. You see, Antonio Sumlin hadn't been on probation, what, a year and some change, and he's already up for revocation. Oh, let me fix that. Keita. Oh my goodness. What just happened? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I clicked the thought I had got out the stream. All right. I'm fixing this banner as we're talking. Then I'm coming back to you all. All right. Back to the comments. Okay. Yeah. Forever, for always, forever, for life says she believes he can make it. And Michelle is right. Like, he only has to report for 7.5 years. That's what Brian Steele had a conversation with the judge. Arbell says he won't make it. Oh, I don't know. Don't say that. I'm holding out faith. But the judge did state that he only has to stay on probation for 7.5 years. And then if he doesn't violate within that 7.5 years and completes all his conditions, which was reporting back to Atlanta 4 times a year to do the benefit concerts and all that stuff. If he does all of that in 7.5 years, he could be off. So I really, I think he can make it. I think her saying that to stay out of Metro Atlanta was a really good thing for him, and that will help him make it because she's removing him from some people, because everybody's not going to be able to move and relocate with him. So he can't have contact with any of his co-defendants except his brother and Gunna. And Gunna, due to their contractual obligations, so due to the record deal contract that they're in. So I think she set him up for success. She put already in the deal how he can travel for shows. He doesn't have to come back and ask probation. He can keep his passport. She put everything in there for him to be successful. So unless he wants to just do something stupid and risk it all, he should be able to be okay. Now, that's the same thing I said, Jalen. Shout out again to Keita G, our stream sponsor. Jalen, that is what I said too. He can't be around any felons. So how can he rap, right? Felons or gang members. And it's so many rap sets are claiming gangs these days. Like, who is he going to rap with? I have no clue. I have no clue. So I had that same question as well. So I don't really know. I don't know what we're going to see from him. I did see that he's posted up with T.I. already, who is a convicted felon, but he's not a gang member. So I think that was kind of more so her thing, because it's going to be hard to stay away from convicted felons in the industry, but more so people who are in a gang. So no gang affiliation. I've never heard T.I. shout out a gang. So seems to be a good first move there. T.I. is much older now in the game. He's no longer the same T.I. that used to get in trouble, got arrested for the gun deals the day of the award show. He's a different person now. So, possibly he is in a position now to be successful, but your fit photographer says a leopard doesn't change his spots. So I don't know. We're gonna see, right? We're just gonna have to wait. Concerts and clubs be full of felons. They do. So it was more so not just felons. It was more so anybody affiliated with a gang is people that he can't be around, except brother and Gunna. So yeah, somebody said rap on Zoom. Oh, pills, potions, and poisons. Thank you so much. She says, the fit lawyer ATL, you looking fly tonight, lady. Thank you so much. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. I got my Georgia Bulldog shirt on tonight. I don't know the game is still going on, so hopefully they win, because we can't take any more losses. So hopefully I'm bringing them luck. Hopefully. So thank you for that. And I'm so glad to see you in the chat, pills, potions, and poisons. Getting to know you in the leads chat and AV's chat. So I'm so glad that you're joining us. So known felons. And I guess he can act like he doesn't know somebody's a felon. I don't know. Like, Life of Thug is gonna look very different. I say he just cut the dreads, get his grown man on, and just kind of give us something different, right? It's just time to maybe leave what he did prior to being locked up alone, because I don't really know how he can go back to it and follow the conditions of his probation. And the judge has already said, like, I'm giving you a sweetheart deal. I'm letting you out. So don't come back, or I'm going to know that you violated and come back. And Tamara O is exactly right. You technically can create music without being in the same room. Most people send their recorded part, so he can still create without being around known felons. There is a workaround, right? There is a workaround. So it's just gonna be exciting to see. But Keita G, our stream sponsor, says mindset is hard to change. And that's kind of what your fit photographer was saying. Like, it's hard for a leopard to change his spots. And it's hard to change your mindset. And that's really where change starts all together with anything you're trying to do in life. It starts in the mind. You have to change your mind first. All right, someone says 24-17, Georgia. Yay, we're winning. Okay, so thank you for that score update. Hopefully we can keep that win because we don't need 3 losses. Yes, I'm sorry. LTOUXER says Jeffrey is very versatile and extremely talented. I can't wait to see what's next for him. Same here. I can't wait to see what's next. I think his attorney, Mr. Steele, compared him to John Lennon. So let's see, right? This is gonna make him tap into the other side and the rest of what he can bring and just switch it up and give us some new. So yes, DJ he needs to really be truly humble under God, right? Because that's what Brian Steele was trying to convince us that's what that meant. So he really needs to give us that, and then we could be different. So who else did we see this week that testified that didn't want to be there? Taisha Alexander. Everyone knows who she is. This is, and I don't know what status she has. Is it ex-girlfriend, current girlfriend of Shannon B? But she did not want to testify. And it wasn't like the situation that we saw with Woody, right? Because we're kind of a little more into the trial. We're a little further along. So yeah, GB, I'm sorry. I'm from Alabama, but I went to school at UGA, so it's go dogs all day. But she didn't want to testify, and her attorney told the state that she was going to plead they wanted to plead the fifth, right? She didn't want to testify. I don't know if her and Shannon are still together, but she didn't want to testify. And what did they do? They did her just like they did Woody. She walked into court the day of testimony and they provided her with immunity. And when the state gives you immunity, you can't say, I plead the fifth, or you could go to jail. You can't say you don't want to testify because they've given you immunity. And she never was even charged in the case at all anyway. But still, she was given immunity. And so since she was given immunity, she can be forced to testify. Like, when I tell you, outside of this $55 million budget, the state has so many different things they can use to force and manipulate everyone in the case. Miss Alexander is someone who wasn't even charged in the case. She's not facing any crimes, and they still have tools in their box they use to force her to testify. It's so sad. So I was able to interview her attorney, Miss Rachel Kaufman. I'm sure you all have seen her on a lot of different YouTube platforms and everything since this case has been going on. But I am going to share just a little bit of that interview. I'll put the full 30-minute interview on the page that you can go back and look at later. But I want you just to see her talk about how she represented Miss Alexander and just the tactics that the state used to try to force her, let me rephrase that. They actually did force her to testify in this case. And she never was arrested. So she's not under a plea deal, but they still were able to force her to testify. And what did she really even have to add, right? She didn't have anything to add that talked about the actual murders that we're still waiting to hear evidence about, but they still forced her to testify. And I'm going to pull up, I think, this video as soon as I can figure out where it is. Okay, so it's right here. It's on my screen here. Let me just see how I can see this. Oh, you know what? Do I have to do? Bear with me, y'all. Struggle stream. Mama. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. All right. So let me see how I actually make this bigger. Nope, that didn't make it bigger. Okay, I think that is as big as I can make it. All right, we're gonna get into this. All right, so welcome everyone, Rachel Kaufman. Thank you, Rachel, for joining us.
Happy Saturday.
Please introduce yourself to the people.
Okay, so my name is Rachel Kaufman. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. I practice mostly in Fulton County, and I do mostly violent felonies.
Okay, and that entails murders, rapes, armed robberies.
Yeah, fun stuff, the bad stuff.
Fun stuff, right.
Yeah.
So you practice a lot in Fulton County, so I'll take it you've gone up against DA Love, Bonnie Willis's office, everybody we've seen in this YSL trial, you've gone up against them in court.
Yes, these characters are all people that I know very, very well.
Yeah. And same here, I'm practicing 19 years and was a public defender in Fulton, so we know these people well. So we see them every day in court with our clients. So you had the pleasure of representing who in the YSL trial?
So I represented Taisha Alexander, who was the former, possibly current, but I believe former girlfriend of Shannon Stillwell.
Yes. I like the way you said that, because even she said on the stand when asked, "Are you still with Shannon?" I don't know, because allegedly he possibly might be married. Did she have any opinion about that or know really what happened?
Okay, so I don't know how much. So there have been, and Caleb Bumpus and I have made peace. We had an issue years ago. I brought it up on YouTube. People got very upset about it. Her and I were able to discuss and move forward, and I like her very much as a person. I did not know. So I've been representing Ms. Alexander ever since the state was serving subpoenas, witness subpoenas in this case. So we're talking like 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so I was hired to basically help facilitate the service for subpoenas, such that when the investigators came to speak with her or give her the subpoena, that they didn't misuse the opportunity to try and get her to say things or put her in a position where she felt uncomfortable not speaking to them. So this is, again, long before anything came up with Ms. Bumpus or anything like that. And then Kayla and I made peace, and then all these rumors came out about her possibly marrying Shannon Stillwell. Huge surprise to me. Not something that her and I ever spoke about. I have no idea. So I could tell you that when we were in court, when Taisha, they call her Polka, so I call her Polka. When Polka was testifying, and that entire day we had been there since about noon. We didn't testify till like 5:20, 5:30. Kayla was in the court. Kayla was there the whole time. And Shannon's grandma's there, and Polka's mom was there. It just felt, it was a lot, and I was kind of in between it. And as somebody who, I don't know, I'd be kind of possessive. It was kind of reminding me of The Boy Is Mine, Monica and Brandy. It was some weird stuff that I was just kind of I'm just glad it's not my problem. I got other problems.
Right.
But I was feeling the energy, and I just, I guess everyone loves Shannon. I don't know the situation, but I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to bring up, because it was, people don't understand how close you are in a courtroom to when you're representing somebody charged with murder. The victim's family is coming in the same door, they're going to the same bathroom that you're going to.
Right.
People in the hall, it was a little too close for comfort, but both of them were very mature and handled themselves. I don't know if it were me, how I would have handled myself. I guess, again, it's a good thing I'm not involved.
Yes. Okay, well, thanks for sharing that, because I know a lot of us, as we watched that day, we were wondering if Ms. Bumpus was in the courtroom at the same time that he should testify. So thanks for confirming that.
He was, and I do think people have been also saying, did the state put out that marriage license? Were they the ones that put that out there to try to piss off Polka to the point where she was going to somehow get really mad at Shannon and say things that could hurt him?
Right.
Lucky for Shannon, she wasn't really in a position to do that anyways. So, but
And I'm stopping here just for a second, guys. Do you see already like the manipulation? Because where did the marriage license come from, right? So this is Taisha Alexander's own attorney, and she believes that the state may have leaked the marriage license to piss her client off so that when they call her to the stand and testify, she could testify, I guess, more negatively against Shannon. Like, so much manipulation. Yes, Mango Gelato, they're so messy. It's so messy. And I saw a comment earlier, and I hope I can get back to find it. Yeah, here it is. Dolly says it really is disgusting how the justice system is. It's about conviction, not justice or truth. And isn't that what it's supposed to be about? What the truth is, right? I mean, you watch Law and Order episodes, and the detectives seem to appear to be getting to the truth, right? They'll arrest the wrong person, some evidence will pop up that'll show them it's somebody else, and then they'll go search down that evidence, get the wrong person out. It would be amazing if that happened in real life. But a lot of times we see that it's not. These prosecutors seem to be really caught up in winning, getting conviction rates, celebrating how many people they can lock up and convict. Meanwhile, the victims from the families of these murders that Shannon and got here on trial for, even they are saying the state does not know who committed the murders. They don't even feel like as victims, they are receiving justice because of the sloppiness of how the state is prosecuting the case. Mind you, these crimes occurred when? Years ago. This family has been waiting for justice for years. You would expect that if you've been waiting for justice for your loved one for almost 10 years or 7 years, that when the trial starts, that is bam, 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 bam. This is who did it. This is the evidence. These are the phone calls. These are the shell casings. You lay it all out. You've had years. This didn't just happen this year. This is years ago. Isn't that crazy? But all we saw this week was the state trying to confuse us. You even heard, I think Ms. Bumpers was on What the Fuck Wednesday. They were doing on WTF Wednesday on their show. Her and Miss Mel and Miss Jefferson. And Jefferson. Y'all forgive me if I get names wrong. But they were discussing how she sat in the courtroom that entire day and was confused. Because they started out talking about the Drinks murder. Remember, that's what we left off with the FedEx video. Yet this week during testimony, it was everything but that. It was guns found on the side of the road that we later find out on cross weren't from the Drinks murder. There were all these shell casings and collected and reviewed and tested by this GBI expert. Once again, not from the Drinks murder. There was a gun that somebody else found laying up against a fence. Not from the Drinks murder. And poor Taisha was brought in to testify about an FN gun that she bought and that Shannon had, not from the Drinks murder. Shit. When are we going to get evidence from the Drinks murder? Because that is the murder he's charged with. All we got this week was evidence of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. And I'm sorry, that's not RICO at all. But if you weren't paying attention and you just listened to the evidence and didn't connect the dots, then you felt like they were giving you all this evidence from the Drinks murder. That's what I thought when I was watching too. I'm like, dang, they got all them shell cases from that shooting. Shit, they matched them to the gun that was found later. That's them. Like, it sounded really bad until you really paid attention and realized that none of the shit was even connected. None. Shout out to Pills, Potions, and Poisons with $19.99 super chat. Great stream fit. The tea is hot. Yes. And in order to get like all the tea, you kind of been in the know of this thing from the beginning. But yeah, like Rachel spoke, her and Kayla had some little drama from years ago that she mentioned now. And it was all this back and forth when Kayla first got on YouTube. But hey, we're not here on that. We are here talking about how shady this state is, how messy they are. But yes, the tea Rachel was dropping. All just, it makes you think like, how did this marriage license just so conveniently come out days prior to Miss Alexander testifying? But the marriage had already been there. It had been filed back in September, but we just learned about it so conveniently days before. It just makes you wonder. It's just all this manipulation. Yes. LTO UXER. Remember, Ashley Merchant wanted to see their financial records, public documents, and they couldn't produce them. Yeah, because they fucked up the money. That 55 million was not all spent, right? I don't care what anybody says. Remember, they got Congress is asking where the grant money for this went, where this money. I mean, that's a lot of money. And which was really surprising how people were really considering putting a Miss 4-year attorney with no experience into office. I'm sorry, you can feel whatever you feel about Fonnie, but at least give us another formidable candidate, okay? Because that wasn't it. Keita G, our stream sponsor, says the state is beyond messy. They are morally bankrupt and lack integrity. How the fuck do they sleep at night? Shaking my damn head. Great question, right? And it's because they've gotten the idea of we gotta win, we gotta win, we gotta win. So even though the big fish, the wolf of the pack is home, they got a conviction. They got 4 convictions of RICO out of 6 so far. So to people who only care about the win and about checking a box off and just about the press conference that could come from something, the news blurb, they feel like they won. I got my convictions. I got convictions for RICO. I can stand at a press conference and say I took down YSL and I got convictions against YSL for RICO. And for some that don't care about the truth and what actually occurred, that's enough. And it's really, really, really sad. That's enough. Shannon's ex-girlfriend did not say what. Lori, come back and tell me what she didn't say, because I think Sylvia interviewed her tonight. So tell me what she didn't say exactly, and hopefully I can catch that comment. Pills, potion, and poisons. Right? They still don't know who did these crimes. They don't know. They know Woody got on the stand and confessed to doing 2 or 3 crimes. And did he ever get charged? No. So, like, as a jury, you're seeing that. You're seeing that they sacrificed charging somebody who got on the stand and confessed to committing crimes to go after somebody that now is at home on probation and just has to stay out of trouble for 7.5 years. And they got to steal his watch. Like, it's so crazy. And I saw a question about that watch earlier, and hopefully we can get one of his attorneys on and we can ask them that question, because we all want to know, like, what happened about the watch. Yeah, it did feel a little personal, right? Hilton brought old girl in to get back at Kayla. That was personal. Some of the questioning was personal. Some of the things that she would repeat, the whole, oh, so you the prettiest girlfriend Shannon ever dated, like, irrelevant. Why you have to repeat it, right? Why was it a chuckle? Why was it a kiki? Like, it's messiness, right? So these people are human. They've been on this trial for years. They've been dealing with these people for years. Remember, Ms. Bumpus is not the person who told about the ex parte hearing, but she shared the truth about it when questioned by some of the defense attorneys, right? So the state might feel a little way because that ex parte hearing and the revelation of it and everything else Woody revealed is how Glanville got kicked off the case. So I'm sure there's a little, kind of feeling, and it was a spicy topic, right? Because allegedly Kayla got married to Shannon and then his ex-girlfriend's going to testify. So of course she took some time to be a little messy and take a few shots. That was evident as well. And Fallon X is the only reason the state gets to do that because it's RICO. I'm not sure exactly what point is it about having them testify or forcing them. Come back and tell me exactly what point you were asking about. But did they shoot for it? Exactly, right? Because 40 caliber bullets, those are the bullets, the caliber of the bullets from the Drinks murder. But we heard about guns that shot 45 FN that shot something else. It's a 9mm. Like, we just heard about so many different things. It is ridiculous. She did Star Child. She did, but luckily she did own something, right? Because 2 girls tried to rob her and shot at her, and luckily she had a piece so she could shoot back. And she was clear to remind us and let us know that she shot back and they attempted to rob her, but they did not rob her. Something Keita G said they probably used Miss Sylvia. Ain't no telling, right? It is no telling, like, what lengths the state has gone to in this case to get the convictions that they want. Okay. Yeah, like Mon said, she could believe the state leaked the marriage stuff. We'll never know how that actually came out to begin with it, but yes, Sharp was on it. He was on top of all of the crap, the back and forth this week. He was on top of it on his crosses. That's when you got the real. That's when you truly understand. Like all these shell cases you're talking about, they're not from what incident are they from? And then the girl on stand said, I don't know. I don't have any label on them. I was just giving these in 2023 to test. Like what? Crazy. They are still testing evidence when trial was starting because the trial started January 2023. Anyway, Just Lee, thank you so much. She sends $10 super chat, just showing love. I thank you so much. I appreciate that for the pure love of the game. Thank you so much. Your support means so much to me. This is just amazing. So I'm so happy that I could be here and share this information. So I'm glad that you're tuning in and finding value. So thank you for that. Yes, Rice Street needs to be admonished to the ground. I was a public defender and I went into that jail every week for 8 years. It was disgusting. I don't know how they can fix it without tearing it down and rebuilding. I honestly don't know. So I'm interested to see how this DOJ thing is going to go, because when I started as a public defender in 2006, they were under federal order then. And at some point, because one of the agencies, I don't know, is the Georgia Southern Center of Human Rights, I believe is what it's called. They had brought a claim in the early 2000s against the jail and gotten them under federal order, and the federal feds were investigating and they were monitoring the jail, and things got a little better. But as soon as they lifted that order, here we are right back to needing the DOJ to step in again. It's just really sad. Like, this is a county jail that houses innocent people until they can have a chance to go forth to the court before their trial. And to think that the DOJ has to get involved for them to get it right is just crazy. I do have to, Judith Hale asks, yeah, AV, you all got to check it out. She interviewed Little Rod's attorney, Miss Angela, on the show. I believe that was Thursday. So I did start watching that. I got to go back and finish it. So you all check that out. I'm sure that was a great interview. Yes, 55 million and the jail's crumbling before our own eyes. And I don't know if you all remember the interview I did with China a few weeks ago. She talked about how the inmates are in there pulling the metal out of the walls. So it's crumbling for good reason, right? Because they're tearing it up. But it's the fact that it was that deteriorated that you can just easily pull the metal out of the wall. Like how does that happen? Just years of neglect. It's just really horrible. We're going to do a whole live on that DOJ investigation and let you all hear from some other attorneys that actually work in that jail and just the things that we see. And we make those arguments in court for bond. We talk about the conditions of the jail when we're trying to get our clients out. Some judges consider it and have sympathy and will give reasonable bonds, and some judges don't care. They'll give the client the bond that the state is asking, and that means you sit in jail until your bond is paid. Okay, let's see. Yeah, and I did see what Kayla was saying in her live, that she did a good job of testifying. She did. I mean, she really didn't have any damaging evidence to add because, of course, the gun that she purchased that Shannon had wasn't the one used in the Drinks murder. So it's hard to understand what the real relevance of her testimony was. So we're going to go back to this interview because I want you all to finish hearing just the manipulation that the state did to get her to testify. And somebody asked the question before, like, can they force immunity on you? Yes, we saw that with Woody, right? Woody said he was pleading the fifth. They took him into custody on a Friday. I believe that was Friday. He comes back Monday. He has immunity. So now you're forced to testify. Maybe he had the immunity on Friday before. That's what it was, that he said he was going to plead the fifth. They gave him immunity, forced him to testify. He still said he was pleading the fifth after he was given immunity and he was taken into custody. And you're going to hear from Ms. Kaufman that was the same thing Ms. Alexander was facing. Had she still gone in and said that she didn't want to testify after she was given immunity, they were going to take her to jail. Somebody who had never been arrested in the case. She hadn't done anything criminally, but had she refused to testify, then they were going to send her to jail. It's just more of the force and manipulation. It's just so sad. So sad. Oh, okay. We're going to figure out how to get back to this window really quickly. Get back to my interview. Okay. So, oh, there we go. Okay. Share. All right.
you know, I guess I tried to explain I told Max Starr, and he knows, you know, a woman scorned makes a dangerous witness.
Very much so.
So Shannon, you know, my word of advice to him and any person charged with a crime who's got an ex or a current girlfriend testifying, you keep her happy, whatever you do. So, you know, I don't know what he was thinking or how he's handling his stuff, but
yeah,
those are the few thoughts of mine about the whole situation. Like, you idiot.
Like, what are you thinking? Yeah, I tell clients all the time, like, it just depends on if she testifies or not, and how she testifies depends on what you do to her around the time of court. Like,
don't act up.
Just right. Don't act up.
Nice.
So now, Miss Alexander, was she ever charged with a crime in this case?
No.
Okay.
And they had not, and the DA's office never really mentioned charging her with a crime, except for what I know about the situation is that Shannon still was a convicted felon. And my concern is that one of the weapons that was not involved in any homicide that he's charged with, just to be very clear, but a weapon that may have been thrown out of the car during Audi during the car chase, maybe not even by Shannon, but by somebody else, came back as having been bought by Polka, by Ms. Alexander. Okay. So my concern was that they were going to try to say, I just don't trust them. So I was very, you know, clear with Simone Hilton, who compared to Ms. Love and some of the other members of that team. I do have more respect for her because she actually, she kept her word and she did what she was supposed to do. And she's not, you know, her antics are not as evil as Ms. Love's, not nearly. But she basically said, I told her that, you know, my client wanted to plead fifth. We really have nothing to add to this. And then my concern is that if you're gonna ask her about these guns, I don't need you trying to say that she provided a gun to a convicted felon and then arresting her.
Right, because that it could be a charge, correct?
Yeah, they could, and they easily could, and I don't trust them not to. Right. So she went through the same procedure that she went to get Kenneth Copeland or Woody his immunity, but without the ex parte meeting. We didn't do any of that. Right. And again, I mean, she hadn't been singing to police for hours and hours and hours before this, so it was a lot more limited in what she was going to be able to even provide to the state. But yeah, I mean, this gun that came out of the car happened to have belonged to her.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Has she ever given that statement to the police or anything prior to testifying?
So there was a time where we met with the investigators when they were serving her subpoena, where they kind of mentioned that she's like, what do you want from me? Because part of the issue is that she had been coming to court since the beginning, bringing Shannon his clothes, wanting to be in the courtroom. And because she was on the witness list, they wouldn't allow her to sit in the courtroom, invoking the rule of sequestration, meaning that if you are a potential witness in the case, you're not allowed to watch the case or sit in court until you've testified. So they basically used that as a way to keep her out of the courtroom the whole time. She wanted to be in the courtroom. They weren't married, so I couldn't claim marital privilege and invoke that. I don't even know where I was going with that, but basically she's been sitting outside the courtroom because what do they want her to testify about? This gun. What's kind of wild about the whole gun situation, though, again, is that it had nothing to do with this homicide, the Drinks homicide. Her testimony came on the end of that. It was almost like a bait and switch situation. They were trying. I don't think the jurors are that dumb.
Yeah.
I believe the gun that was used in the Drinks murder was like a 40. This was like an FN 9mm. So I think that they can figure out that wasn't the same gun. Yeah. I think the jurors actually really liked her. I think she was refreshing.
I think she was too, and I'm glad you brought that up because it was so confusing. Yeah. You all see this? Like this, even her own attorney is like, why was she here? We don't even really understand what she could have added. Yeah, the DA's office is scrambling and scraping, just reaching for any and everything, trying to make their case. Like she said, the gun didn't even have anything to do with the Drinks murder at all. It was not even the same gun. I know Rachel is super rich. She is so gung-ho for the defense. And so if the prosecutors, like, she fights so hard on these cases daily with them in Fulton, and she practices mostly in Fulton. So she's dealing with these same prosecutors every day. And it's just ridiculous how manipulative they are, even outside of just the witness, right? And forcing Miss Alexander to testify. You hear that she wasn't even able to be there for not one day as a support for Shannon. So this entire trial, she's had to stay away because they put her under subpoena. So knowing that she couldn't even really provide that much evidence in the case, and that her testimony doesn't have anything to do with the Drinks murder, they have kept this girl out of the trial the entire 11 months because they had her under subpoena. And every time a trial starts, you'll hear one side asks for the witnesses to be sequestered. And what that means is the witnesses have to stay separate from each other during the length of the trial so that their testimony isn't tainted by anyone that is testifying before they do. Let me give a shout out to Aries1. Thank you so much for your $10 super chat. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You are so welcome. Thank you for joining in and tuning in. I'm just so grateful to have you here. So thank you. I really appreciate your super chat. But yeah, like it's just so manipulative. They're manipulating the jury, manipulating the witnesses, manipulating the past defendants, all of this. And what we're left with at home and the jury is what happened? What is the truth? What are we really convicting these guys on? What is the evidence? It is so unfortunate. Zulu Time Production says, how is it that the Georgia Supreme Court or any other authority has not stepped in to address the nonstop misconduct exhibited by the state? Because it doesn't work that way. They can't just sit at home like us and watch YouTube and say, oh, the state is doing something wrong. They can only address issues when they're brought before the court in a proper manner. So after a trial is over, there are appeals that can be filed. You saw when Judge Glanville ordered Mr. Steele to go into be held in contempt, right? They filed an appeal, immediate appeal to go against that. And so they brought that appeal up, and that way they were able to get before a higher court for them to make a decision on it. So they can't just be sitting at home and like, oh no, this is wrong. They have to wait until it's presented to the court in the proper fashion, be that an appeal, a habeas corpus, or any other motion that is filed properly before the court. That's when they can deal with that. Mickey Hahn has a question. Do you think Brian will try to do anything about the conditions of Rice Street, since he stated in the plea statement that Jeffrey was only signing to get out of Rice and to take care of medical issues, which I believe the medical issues probably were created by his time at Rice Street. But he possibly could, right? He'll have to file a lawsuit. There are pending lawsuits already against the jail. Ms. Kaufman, will have her back on at some point, but she has some pending lawsuits against the jail. She's had clients die while in custody at the jail. So there are lawsuits there. I'm not sure if Brian is involved in any of those, but he definitely, Thug is no longer in custody. So I'm not sure that he will have standing to bring it on his behalf, but because he could have stayed in the trial, right? And could have waited a few more months and try to get a not guilty verdict. So you waive some claims when you take a plea. That's why the judge goes through and puts all of that stuff on the record. Like, you're waiving your right to a trial. You're waiving your right to have the state prove the case against you beyond a reasonable doubt. You waive those things when you take a plea. So some things he's not going to be able to argue now that he took a plea that he possibly could have argued had he stayed in, got a jury verdict against him, and then went to trial. And then filed an appeal. Shout out to F. Atkins becoming a new YouTube member. Shout out to Mix Chick. Yes, one of my Thank you for becoming a new member. Tamara O's, thank you for becoming a new member. And Mix Chicks gifted 5 Fit Lawyer ATL memberships. Thank you so much, Mix Chick. I greatly appreciate it. Memberships just started today, so y'all are like getting in on the ground floor. So shout out to Mix Chicks. Put her name in the comments if you received a gift at memberships from Mix Chicks. Say thank you. Thank you. Say thank you. Yes, Justly, they need to shut Rice Street down. And a lot of people, I see people in the chat saying Fonnie in the jail. And the jail, they're ran by the sheriff. So the sheriff is the person responsible over the jail and the conditions. So not Miss Willis. So it's not anything that she can do. But will come up with Miss Rachel in our interview is that, but the state they're the ones that put people in jail, right? They're the ones that are giving people the unreasonable bonds and they can't use the bond out. They're the ones that are asking the court to deny bond on people. They can consent to bond for everyone if they desire to, and allow everyone to be released and back home with their family to fight their cases. But they're the ones that makes the argument to the judge as to why someone shouldn't receive bond or why it should be higher. And yes, the sheriff office has a lot to answer for. Yes, they're the ones that run the jail, the sheriff's office. All right, so let's go back to this interview. I want to get to another point she's going to make. And like I say, I'm not going to show this whole interview, but I'm going to put it on the channel so you can go back and watch it because she has some really good insight to share. And she deals with this stuff all the time from the state representing the clients. So let me go back in.
Okay.
All right.
I was like, babe, no.
That is crazy. Now, your client, did she want to testify? I know you said that she intended to plead
No.
guilty. Was she forced? Tell me how the state
Oh, she was
forced her.
forced. Yeah. So no, she did not want to testify. She obviously has had some feelings lately, since their relationship is not the same that it used to be.
Right.
Let's just say they were together. She didn't want to testify. They're not together. She doesn't really want to testify either. And we pled the fifth and they gave us immunity. The whole deal is you have to testify or else you're going to be held in contempt. What does that mean? They're going to send you to Fulton County Jail. What does that mean? Well, you'd be welcome, based on the new Department of Justice investigation that we just saw come out this past week. Anybody who wants to look at it, you should definitely search in Google Department of Justice Fulton County investigation. You'll see that people who are inmates in the Fulton County Jail, that their constitutional rights are being violated pervasively. They're not getting proper medical care. They're not in sanitary housing. They're not being fed properly. It is about as horrifying as it could possibly get. So this isn't even like, testify or go to like a city jail where you'll be okay for a few days. Mm-hmm. This is like risk your life.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that we got immunity and the fact that, what we knew that we were going to be testifying about wasn't particularly concerning to Shannon. Can't hurt Shannon that much. It's not even about any of the cases that he's really charged with. I guess it's possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, by proxy possibly. That's honestly the least of his concerns.
Yes.
And so we were like, we'll just, no, she's not going to jail, and sure, we'll testify. Because honestly, it was better than contempt. Because she didn't. So there's situations where some people, I think, should maybe hold it down and say, depending on who they are and what they've said and what they could say and how it could affect, sometimes being quiet.
Yeah.
Is the right thing to do. Here, based on what I knew her truth was, I realized that not that it's a mistake for the state to call her, but she's not helping them in any way. So let's get on the stand and you can tell everyone, you're the baddest bitch in the land or whatever. That's what we wanted to say. But she said she's the prettiest
girlfriend that Shannon's ever had. Yeah.
I was like, do your thing, like whatever.
Definitely.
Have some fun with it. I love when they're like, did you go through his phone? She's like, yeah, I went through his phone.
Right. He was there, of course. Like, and then
every woman knows.
Did you want to go through the phone when he got locked up? Like, what is the relevance? But hell yeah, like she did say, every woman wants to do that, right?
And there was an old white lady on it. So this is the first time I got to see the jury because she was testifying. I got to sit somewhere different than I'm usually allowed to sit when I go in there. So I got to see some of the jurors kind of from my angle. There's this kind of like older white lady. She was eating up Polka's testimony, laughing. So I was like, okay, even she gets this. She understands. Mm-hmm. Go through his phone. Let the world know that you're the prettiest girl he's had. She was. I thought she was very endearing. And then she's like, yeah, they didn't rob me. They attempted to rob me, and I shot her.
Yes, she was clear on that, but she wanted them to understand they attempted, and I shot her, like very clear. Now, was that is that case resolved or is it still pending?
So my understanding about that case is that the individuals who were there to rob her have been prosecuted.
Okay.
And that she is a victim in that case and she was not charged. So I was not worried about her talking about that. Of course.
Manipulation. So just like that, they could force somebody who's not even charged with a crime, doesn't even really have all that relevant information to testify. Yes, Nurse Fancy, Rachel turned out to be my fave. She don't play, right? Rachel does not play. She has been super feisty from day one, and she does not play. And she fought for her client to get immunity. She was like, no, because from what I've been seeing, she could testify about giving him his gun, and next thing you know, you're going to have her charged with giving a weapon to a convicted felon, which is a charge, right? So she did everything she could to protect her. And I see Mango Gelato. Yes, they were awarded about $3 million. So she had a question about the autistic person that died in the jail. So yes, Ben Crump handled their case and they have received an award. And there are several lawsuits pending currently, ones that have recently been settled against the Fulton County Jail, which is kind of how we got to the DOJ getting involved. Like, you're going to only be able to file so many lawsuits, have so many inmates die. Because I think there were, and don't quote me, I believe last year when they got to like summer, August or something, it was 10 inmates that had died at the Fulton County Jail. And we weren't even at the end of the year. Like, it is very, very, very disturbing when you see it. And it's so sad. And like, the state gets to play these games. And not only are we seeing games being played in this YSL case, we're seeing it being done with Diddy too. Like, I cannot wait until this trial starts in May or whenever it's going to start next year. But I'm not sure if you all are aware, but Diddy has requested bond for a third time. And in his bond motion this time, his attorneys make arguments because they now have received discovery from the state and they're calling cap. And I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the bond motion that Diddy filed on the 8th, like, I was amazed that we are, when did this, he got arrested months ago, right? Wasn't it like August or so that he got arrested? But we are still at the point that there's only still one victim in the case. The grand jury is still being convened, meaning that more charges can be added. But I'm mad that we like about 3 months into this prosecution and we still got one victim. Y'all know who that one victim is? Just give me a guess. Who the one victim they have in this Diddy case? When this press conference gave us so much more, right? It was women, and he's been women and multiple, right? And he's been holding women hostage and taking them across state lines and drugging them and having sex with women, right? Which was multiple, right? Guess who our one victim is? yeah, Justly, yeah, Cassie. Still to this day. And I got a copy of the bond motion, and I read through it, and there was some facts that came out, but what stuck out to me was like this press conference. I'm gonna play a little bit of this press conference because I want to put you all back into the mind of what we were told this case was about. We were told that they have done this almost year-long investigation that they had started last November, and they got women and all of this stuff and the bottles of baby oil and all of this stuff. And here we are months later, and we still with one victim who Diddy had not even had any kind of connection with or in person anything with since 2018. Y'all, is looking real weak. Devin Shelton, thank you so much for your $5 super chat. I greatly appreciate you being here, and I am going to get into this bond motion so y'all can see what I've seen, because I'm just like, where's the rest? But before we get the bond motion, yes, let me go back and play this press conference that sounded so damning. Like, it sounded like, when I heard this press conference, I was like, okay, y'all can just put Diddy's going, just put him under the jail. It is not going to get us anywhere. This is going to be horrible. Like, this is horrible. But after I play this, I am going to, and hopefully it plays. Like, why are we buffering? Hopefully, We'll get this a start. 'Cause I'm confused. Hold on, y'all. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, let me.
Today, I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires,
Don't do me like that. Come on.
protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as—
Yo, how many S's we heard? Victims. Victims, right? So I would think at this point, we got more than one victim in the case because at the press conference in September, they said they had victims. Y'all, we're the victims. That's exactly how I feel too. When Diddy sued that liquor company, everything went downhill. I say they took their hands off of him, and any claim that they could find and bring against him, they have done so. We're going to take a look at this motion for bond. And in this motion, so Diddy filed his bond motion on the 8th. The state had until the 15th to respond. They did. The defense has until the 20th to respond to the state's response. And his bond hearing will be on Friday, the 22nd. His third request for bond will be this coming Friday, y'all. And what his attorneys say in this bond motion that I'm getting ready to share with you all, it was really concerning. And I saw someone else saying the state usually comes with it, and they usually do, which is why I was so surprised to hear the defense making their claims. Shout out to Devin Shelton again for your $5 super chat. Shout out to the Fashionably Fit Life. Would you want to talk to someone? Yes, I would. I still feel uncomfortable about how that man was shaking. Wasn't it so sad? It just, I couldn't believe how nervous he was. And once I did some digging and saw that probation violation already filed and hanging over his head, it made sense. Michael Love says, can they use the Cassie situation in this case? The Cassie situation is this case. That's what they're using. They are using everything from that lawsuit as a part of this case. That's it. I thought by now we have more victims added, or yeah, Lil Rod filed a claim. Does he not count with the federal case? He hadn't been added to it yet. So if you go to the federal website and pull up the cases, Diddy has tons of lawsuits pending, However, when it comes to the actual criminal case, he still has one victim. So he asked for bond 2 times before, and his attorneys have come back again and asked for bond for a 3rd time. And this time they kind of upped the requirements that they're willing to give up for him to get bonds. And we're going to take a look at those. Because if you all remember, Diddy offered a pretty hefty offering to them the first time that he went for his bond. And they said no. At that point, he was offering 50,000. I'm sorry, 50 million. He was offering the home. He was surrendering his passport. He wasn't going to be traveling. He was going to be under house arrest. And they still felt like that wasn't enough. Let's see if I can make this big enough. All right, there we go. So let's look at what the attorneys have offered now. So these are the updated conditions of release. And then we're going to look at what they claim the state basically kind of lied about at the previous hearings. Not the state, I keep saying that, but it's the U.S. government, because this is a federal case. So it's the government versus Diddy. Now, the proposed updated conditions of release, the defense proposes, of course, again, the $50 million bond. It's going to be co-signed by Mr. Combs, his mother, his sister, the mother of his oldest daughter, the mother of his youngest daughter, and his 3 adult sons. Isn't that crazy? Like, all of that is going to be, all of those people will be co-signing on his bond in order to get him out. The next, and I'm trying to see how, well, okay, let me see, y'all. Why is it scrolling? Is tripping. I think I got to put it over here. Okay. Now let me come back to you all. Okay, so now I done messed up something. Okay, hold on. We're going to get this together. Struggle streaming, but I'm going to get it together. Just bear with me. Okay. Okay, it's on this screen. Share. Got it. All right, there we go. Okay. So, and then he's also going to have the bond secured by equity in his residence located in Florida, which is appraised for about $48 million. He is going to also secure by the equity of his mother's home in Miami, Florida. This time he's offering, because he was offering some monitoring and stuff before, but he's upped those offerings now. He's offering full home detention at his residence in Miami or a suitable location in New York with GPS monitoring. His attorney will travel to this location for any in-person meetings with Combs or have counsel meetings via video. So no longer does he want permission to leave the residence to go see his attorneys. The attorneys are saying, forget it. We will lock him in a house and we will go see him every time we need to meet with him. To the extent that Mr. Combs' travel is necessary to attend court or pre-approved medical appointments, that's the only reason he will be able to leave. If his travel will then be restricted to the Southern and Eastern District of New York and the Southern District of Florida. So they are offering to have him under lock and key in the house, except for court or pre-approved medical appointments. That's it. He will pay for all of the costs of the monitoring, 24/7 monitoring by qualified security personnel approved by the government and pretrial services. He will have no access to telephones or the internet except for during calls with counsel to be arranged by security personnel. No access to telephones. What? So it's gonna be in the lock and key in his house, no access to telephones. They can't call anybody, can only talk to his attorneys. This is what Diddy's attorneys are presenting to the government, that to the court, that this is what he will do. They will restrict all visitors except for counsel and pre-approved lists only consisting of specific family members with the consent of pretrial services and the government. The family visits will be scheduled only with pretrial services prior approval. Security personnel will monitor the family visits. And Mr. Combs shall avoid all contact, directly or indirectly, with any person who is or may be a victim or witness in the case. Star Child, I'm with you. Isn't this unrealistic? So we're to believe that Diddy's gonna come home, stay under lock and key in his house, not text, not call, not look on the internet, not chat, not look on Facebook, not go on Instagram, YouTube, nothing. He's not gonna access the internet, period. And they are going to try to convince the court that they can monitor. They have something they can put in place to monitor that. They say that Mr. Combs will consent to provide pretrial services random access to his residence. His passport has already been surrendered to his counsel. Now, this is to his attorney. They haven't turned it over to the government. They've turned it over to his attorney since April 1st, 2024, which he would then provide to pretrial services. The following family members have also submitted their passports. So while Diddy's going through this, he's locking down family members. So his mom, Chance Combs, Jesse Combs, and Delilah Combs cannot travel as well. And then I stay on another live with China, how the family goes through this same, like they go through it with you when you're locked up. Your family goes through this with you all, right? Like, so now, so he can get bond, mama's daughter, they got to give up their passports, so now they can't travel anywhere out the country, all to try to help get dad home. Counsel will continue efforts to sell his airplane that people have been reporting that it's been traveling around. Clearly, he's not on it, right? They're trying to sell it. And he shall submit to testing for basically drugs in his system. Mr. Combs must participate in a program or counseling if directed by pretrial services, and abide by all other standard conditions of pretrial release. Additionally, for the avoidance of any doubt, and as stated during the September 18th hearing, if your honor wants something more or different, we can do whatever's necessary. So basically, they're just saying, tell us whatever conditions, judge, please, please, please let my client go. Let us out. He wants out. And also what they point out in this bond here, and I'm going to scroll through it to get to the juicy part, is that they talk about other people who are charged with these similar crimes as well, that have gotten even better bond deals than Diddy. And so why can't he be let out? And do you all think is any conditions that Diddy can provide? I mean, Diddy was almost a billionaire at the time all of this started falling apart last year. Like, is there any condition someone worth that much money can give to the court that they're going to come back to court when they're supposed to, that they're going to not intimidate witnesses? And I think that was the biggest hurdle that Diddy had, right? He had the problem because there are 4 factors that the court looks at when they're considering bond. They're called Ayala factors, A-Y-A-L-A. And these are things that the court considers when any one of us gets in trouble and locked up for a crime, and the judge has to decide whether or not we'll get bond. They want to know if you're going to be a flight risk. So, and locally, because I haven't been in federal court to see how their hearings go, but locally, when you go to court before the judge for a bond on the state level or in municipal court, the judge will ask someone from pretrial services who monitors your criminal history, is this person a flight risk? Do they have any FTAs? Do they have any failure to appears? That's one of the things that they're considering when giving bond. They also want to know, are you a danger to the community? Is Diddy charged with things that make him a danger to the community? I mean, he has been charged with some dealings with Cassie, right? They say women, but is he a danger to the community? Just as outright danger? Like, are we afraid to have Diddy out in the community at night? Or do we look at what happened as consensual people that got involved in freaky stuff with him on their own free will? Like, is he a danger to the community? That's one of the considerations. Also, the third is is the person at risk to commit another felony while they're out on bond? And I know that's a lot of times, like, some of my clients will come up with this and have problems with this in court because they'll get a charge, they'll get released on bond, and then they'll get another charge while that first case is still pending. And so then the next time you come before the court, they're like, yeah, your likelihood to reoffend because you're on bond already and did it again. So that's the third thing the court's looking at. And the fourth thing that I think is being the biggest problem with Diddy is the risk of intimidating witnesses. That's what I think is holding him up. However, when we look at the rest of the bond motion, his attorneys make argument that the government really may not have evidence that he has been intimidating these witnesses, and that a lot of things that they were saying at the bond hearing isn't true. Brown Mama 3186 says they tried to prove that he was willing to comply by him moving to New York before the arrest. Yep, they sure did. Y'all remember Diddy was like, he was walking down the street. He had a hotel room in New York. He came to New York to turn himself in. He knew that this was going to happen. This investigation started shortly after Cassie filed her lawsuit. And after the raid on his home, that he knew, and his attorney knew, it was just a matter of time before he got arrested. So they were already doing things to show that he was being cooperative. He turned over his passport in April. Mind you, he wasn't arrested until September. He turned his passport over in April. He started trying to sell his plane. He started selling off assets. He started paying up the mortgage on his home in Miami so he could use it as collateral if he was given a bond. So this has been things that he's done in preparation, but the feds arrested him because they knew he would be denied if they arrested him without turning himself in. And Brown Mama 3186, I think you're exactly right? They knew he was in New York. They knew, they had video of him. Look, he went to dinner the night before. Like, they knew he was there. He was there to be cooperative, and they still snatched him up. They didn't give him any heads up. And I think outside of them snatching him up because they knew he wouldn't get a bond, it was also to give the public display, right, to humiliate him. It's not humiliating if we allow you to come through the back door and overnight and people just wake up and they get to hear that, oh, did he turn himself in the night before? Like, that's nothing sexy about that. It's no new news story. It's a big deal, right? It's a big deal when Diddy gets arrested off the street and taken into custody. Then we get to make a big show and spectacle out of it. So I think that also played into how they picked him up, knowing that he was there to turn himself in. His attorney has been working with them since the raid on his home back in March. So for April, May, June, July, August, somebody's telling you they're preparing, they're surrendering themselves, because you can't turn yourself in until there's a warrant, until there's something for them to hold you under. They did all of that. They unsealed that indictment, arresting him all at the same time with no heads up. And I think it was just to be humiliating him. Yeah, I think so too. Mickey Hahn says he'll be in Bali with Russell Simmons the following week after he's released on bond. I think he was headed there when they stopped him at that Miami airport when they were doing the raids. Like, he waited a little too late. He might have should have booked that ticket to Bali at the time that Cassie's lawsuit came out, and he settled it in less than 24 hours. At that point, he knew shit was popping off. So, like Russell, he should have made his way over there. For Always, Forever, for Life, one of our mods, thank you so much for being a great moderator for this channel. She says Diddy has been using other inmates' PAC number and having his sons make three-way calls for him, just recently calling one of the witnesses. So I don't think they would give him bond. Ain't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Yes, this is gonna be one of my t-shirts. Ain't that crazy? Like, that's so crazy to be under these type of charges, locked up, still doing stuff. Because we heard from the YSL trial, they record all these phone calls. They're listening to the three ways. All of that stuff is recorded. And just because you're using other people's numbers, they have the numbers to the witnesses. So all they have to do is go to the system and type in what numbers have called this witness number, and then listen to the calls. Inmates do it all the time in Rice Street. They think getting somebody else's code and calling their girlfriend and calling someone else is going to save them from having their calls tracked. But you heard Sprinkle testify and says that I know, I mean, I go get to the commonly called numbers, the most frequently called numbers, and we'll go reverse search it. So we'll pull it from the numbers called, not the person call it out. And that way they'll still track down those phone calls and find it. But is that stuff true? The state is saying it, but do we have evidence of it? And that's what we want to get into in the rest of this bond motion is Diddy's attorneys pointing out things that the state said at the bond hearings that now that they got discovery, they're saying the evidence doesn't line up to that. And we see that a lot of time in defense attorneys in court. Rachel can speak to that. I can speak to that. Even Lee can speak to that. When you are first arrested, you have what's called a first appearance hearing. That's usually held within 48 to 72 hours after your arrest. At that time, I don't have anything on the case. I don't have a police report. I've spoken to you, but I haven't had a chance to speak to witnesses on the case. I haven't had a chance to interview officers. I may be lucky enough, depending on where you are, and if I have somebody that works in the clerk's office that can help me, I will have a copy of the warrants. But I won't have my open records request back that quick for a police report in 24 to 48 hours. So I don't know what the allegations are until we hear them in court. And if I don't know the allegations beforehand, how can I defend them? Because I haven't had a chance to gather my evidence, to go do an investigation to do it. So at the bond hearings, you're typically left with the state putting on the record what they believe the case will show. And you can just make general arguments back against to that evidence. But you're stuck because you don't have discovery yet. You haven't received the packet from the state or the government that shows you all the evidence that's going to be used against you in your case. So you're left with arguing basically that, hey, my client's a good person. They don't have any failure to appear as judge. We contest all the allegations, although I can't bring you evidence to show how we're contesting them because I'm just hearing them. But we're left in the dark a lot of times as defense attorneys. And this is also the reason why we don't talk to the police. Let me just plug that in here. Like off topic, but sidebar. This is why I don't take clients into the police stations for interviews. We do not talk to the police. Why? Because I don't know why they're questioning you. They can tell me, oh, yeah, I want to question him about this murder, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know anything else. Do they have you on tape? Do they have your fingerprints on something? Do they have a gun that was registered to you? What are we going to be faced with when we go in here for this questioning? So that's why we do not talk to the police. Anytime someone calls me and says detective has reached out and they want to get an interview, okay, you can pay me. I'm going to call the detective and let him know we ain't coming in talking. We're not talking. Now I can, listen to what the detective has to say, kind of offer a little bit about what we would say if we came in, because that can't be used as hearsay. They can't hold that against my client. But I do not allow my client to put any statements to the police on record. The only time you're going to make a statement is if you're testifying in trial. We're just not going to do it. And so this is why it's so unfair, really, until you get all the defense and evidence against you, because the state can stand up and say whatever at the bond hearing and you don't have any way to contest it. Rachel and I were talking off camera and I think she may mention in an interview, like I say, I'll post that entire interview on the channel tonight so you all can go check it out. But she talked about one time at a bond hearing, the state says that her client had a body in the trunk. And she looks at her client like, did you forget to tell me something? And comes out to find out there was nobody in the trunk. But they made this statement to the judge during the bond hearing so that it can influence whether the judge gave her client bond or not. And it's not fair. But these are the things that happen. And this is the thing. These are some of the things that Diddy's attorneys are saying are happening in this case. And we're going to take a look at it. Oh, I think I just should have kept that up. Here we go. Are we back? Into it? Yes. Okay. So this says, in light of new evidence, and these are some of the arguments that his attorneys are making as to why he should be given a bond and why the state basically is not being truthful. And I don't know how to get this toolbar off of here in their presentation. So over the past 6 weeks, the defense has received approximately 23.5 terabytes of discovery material. That's a lot of evidence, y'all. That is a lot of evidence. The material reveals new information about the case, the evidence, and the government's previous bail contentions that was not known to the movement at the time of the hearing. So Diddy is the movement in this case, and they're saying that they've got new evidence from this discovery that has shown them that stuff that they didn't know at the time. The government's allegations of sex trafficking relate to one woman, referred to in the indictment as alleged victim one. Now, what did we hear in the press conference, y'all? Then we hear women. Then they say that they had evidence of women, multiple victims, all of that stuff. They get the discovery and up to the right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Khadijah. Yes, that gets it out of the way. Thank you so much for that. But yes, so they said they had victims, right, Tamara? They said they had victims. Shout out to Tamara. They had victims, but we got one victim. The evidence that they got to go through shows only one victim. And so what you see this blackout part, if you all recall, all the discovery in the Diddy case is being sealed. So whenever it's going to be things that are word from word for discovery, it will be blacked out. But I'm going to scroll down because we're going to be able to see who they're talking about. So it says the first mention of any sex trafficking or unwanted sexual contact involving alleged victim 1 was in November 2023, 5 years after the couple's 2018 breakup. So while they are not telling us and we can't see through the black, we know that this is talking about Cassie. So victim 1, which is the only victim that they have in this case, is Cassie. And so they broke up in 2018. So whatever allegations we're talking about, like the video we saw in the hotel, that was, I think, 2016. They're charging him with old shit. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't face charges or that he shouldn't be in jail or face or have to answer for the things that he did to Cassie. But that press conference we watched was giving way more than Cassie's 6 years ago incidents. They said they got baby oil out the house today, like this year. So where are those victims? Who was the baby oil being used against now? Like, I want to see new victims. Like, where's the S? Where's the victims? This says in the spring of 2023, victim 1 revealed to one or more others that she needed money to support her family. So they're saying that in the discovery that they were served, this is how the story comes out. So in spring of 2023, victim 1, Cassie, revealed to one or more others that she needed money to support her small family. She told others that she had started writing a book about her relationship with Mr. Combs. In June of 2023, she texted Mr. Combs' employee that Mr. Combs should contact his lawyer to have his lawyer speak with her lawyer. She followed up on this by text on June 15, 2023. The same day, her lawyer contacted one of Mr. Combs' lawyers, who, expecting that she might make an extortionate demand, recorded the conversation. During the approximately 8-minute recorded call, the lawyer confirmed victim 1 was writing a tell-all book and that Mr. Combs could buy the exclusive rights to the book for $30 million, which would ensure that it would not be published. So this is the evidence that they've gotten. So they have gone and made this big press conference, like had all this evidence that Diddy's just this horrible person, and they have all these victims, and it's Cassie. And also, whenever the state turns over evidence, they also have to turn over evidence that is inculpatory and exculpatory. So they have to turn over evidence that is against you, and they also have to turn over evidence that helps your case. That is called Brady material. They have to give it all over. They can't pick and choose what they want to give. They have to turn it all over. So in turning everything over, this is what we're seeing, that it all started out is basically a money grab about this book, right? In fall of 2023, victim 1 pursued a different strategy. So Diddy didn't go for paying her off to keep the book out last summer. He didn't do that. So come the fall, she tries a different strategy. The Adult Survivors Act, ASA Act, which allowed victims of SA that had passed the statute of limitations to file claims, and they had until November 24th, 2023 to do that. And I agree, Sweet Escape. Diddy is a horrible person, period. Yes, we saw the video. We have heard the allegations. The problem is they have to actually bring this evidence into court in order to convict him of the crime. So while we may feel like he's a horrible person, if the evidence that they're bringing forth in this case is not going to prove that, because it's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove, then he's not going to be convicted of all of these crimes that we're hearing about. That the stuff in the civil lawsuits, those aren't criminal cases unless the state investigates it and brings the evidence before the grand jury and actually gets indictments charging him with those crimes. Further says that in November, the victim indicated in discussions between her lawyer and Mr. Combs' lawyer for the very first time, 5 years after their relationship ended, that she had been sexually abused by Mr. Combs, again demanding $30 million. So what the defense attorneys are saying, that the evidence is showing that even back when she first reached out in April, she didn't mention anything about being sexually abused. That didn't come until after Diddy didn't pay to shut down the book. And then in the fall of 2023, she states for the first time ever that she's sexually abused when there's about to be the statute of limitations on this Adult Survivors Act that she can bring a claim against. So, like, I mean, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel like maybe she's kind of putting 20 on 10 on this? Yes, Khadijah, a lawyer could destroy her on the stand. I'm sorry, you go to trial and she gets on the stand and testifies, she is going to have to explain how the first contact she made to Diddy and his attorneys was, I'm writing a book to tell everybody what you did to me, or you can pay me $30 million to keep the book out. And then when that didn't work, oh, now I want to press charges. They're going to drill her on that. And that's why I wanted to see other victims. And I know the grand jury, they're still being not deliberating, but they're still there. So the government can still present evidence to them to get additional charges, but they better come with it. We need some more victims. We need some more stuff. She tried to get money twice. Yeah, the book deal. And when that didn't work, the summer goes by, and then November, she jumps, like they say, into a different claim. Now, they say, to be clear, the statute of limitations for non-sexual assault, battery, and other alleged offenses were subject to the typical statute of limitations for those torts. So it had to be sexual assault. That was the only claim that would get past the statute of limitations and that she could file, would be if she claimed sexual assault. So even with that video from the hotel in 2016, I believe it was, where he was beaten, he chased her out to the elevator and drug her back down. Like, the statute of limitations for that stuff had passed. I mean, battery, the statute of limitations in Georgia for battery, which some of that stuff we saw could be, is 2 years. Aggravated assault, or aggravated battery, if we want, I don't know her injuries from that day, but if she was very injured or if he used the item to beat her, that would be 4 years. So we're past the statute of limitations for that stuff. And so when she wants to threaten criminal charges, the only way that she can is claiming sexual assault. And so Diddy's attorneys are saying that that was just a ploy just to be able to get the lawsuit filed. Oh, running out of money. But yeah, she has a husband and 2 children, but they're not as successful as Diddy. I think her husband was the hired trainer that Diddy hired to train her. And so he's not making as much money as Diddy. Diddy was almost worth $1 billion. So it's a different lifestyle. It's a different life. And I'm not sure how she's necessarily earning money and everything now. So she definitely had reasons to seek more money. And I don't like to see how this is playing out, but hopefully, they're still investigating. They still got the grand jury. So hopefully we'll see more victims added, because there are tons of lawsuits that are out there pending. And if people are being truthful, they should be able to be added to the criminal case if there's enough evidence on their claims. So what his attorneys say is, with the release of the civil complaint, law enforcement saw an opportunity to build a criminal case against Mr. Combs. Discovery shows that within days of the civil case settling, the investigation began. The government recycled Cassie's allegations, but the case requires her potential testimony, which will be refuted by years of written correspondence and other documentary evidence. So what they're saying is, Cassie, and that's how it is in every case, all victims must testify in order for their claims to be pursued in a criminal court. So if I call the police because my boyfriend fought me this weekend or beat me up or whatever, right? And I get him arrested and charged with battery. In order for that case to actually be tried in court, I am going to have to come to court to testify. And so if I don't show up, no matter if they have pictures of my bruises, video of my bruises, unless they have an independent witness that witnessed that incident, if I don't, and most times in DV cases, nobody else is there but me and him, right? So if I don't show up to court, the case is dismissed. Case gets tossed out. So that's what their attorneys are saying. Like, she's gonna have to get on the stand and testify. And when you testify on direct, that's when the government or the prosecutors direct your testimony. You got to come up against Cross. You got to come up against a Mac Sharp. You got to come up against a Doug Weinstein, right? You're going to get cross-examined about all of the texts and I love you and all of that stuff that you sent while you're claiming someone was sexually abusing you. But at the same time, you were willingly leaving and coming back with to them. You're sending them messages. They have all of that correspondence and all of that stuff will be used as evidence. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Just heading, the alleged second victim is not a victim at all. Despite the government's claims that this woman is a sex trafficking victim, the defense has learned that the government has not even spoken to her. So there's an alleged second victim that the government keeps kind of throwing out there, although he hasn't been charged with crimes against her yet. But then they learned in the discovery that they haven't even spoken to her. Y'all, what is going on? What was that press conference? What was the press conference that we saw when they haven't even spoken to the second victim? You mean you don't have the video? You don't have any proof? You don't have evidence that she actually was sexually abused, but she's been called a victim? And who is she, right? Because he's not charged yet. This is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So basically, they also claim that the discovery undermines the government's argument that Combs attempted to tamper with other individuals, including grand jury witnesses. So a part of the big reason that he didn't get bond is that they were saying that he was intimidating witnesses. But what they're saying is that the evidence actually shows that this witness that he allegedly contacted actually reached out to him first. And their contact actually hadn't been for years. Like, this is just some of the manipulation and that the prosecutors get to use because we're in the dark. As defense attorneys, we're in the dark until we get the evidence from the government on the case. So when those first two bond hearings, before evidence is turned over and they had a chance to go through 23.5 terabytes, like that is a lot of evidence. I have a 1 terabyte drive on my computer, and it's nowhere near full. And I have hundreds of client cases and files on there. Could you imagine 23 more of those drives full of evidence? Like, that is crazy. And then to learn that all the stuff that they were saying at the previous bond hearings, they're saying that the evidence doesn't show that. And the defense attorneys say that the grand jury witness contacted Diddy and not the other way around. And to the extent that individuals were contacted, the defense counsel explained that to conduct a responsible defense investigation, they have to contact the witnesses, right? Because they're trying to say that Diddy uses his attorneys and other third people to contact these witnesses to try to intimidate them. But if you're handling a case and I get a witness list with my indictment that says has 20 witnesses on it, believe I need to send my investigator to interview these witnesses to see what they're going to say at trial, because a lot of times the statement they provide the government was months ago, years ago, before the case actually is coming up for trial. So now we have to go interview them. And so I'm going to reach out it's not on Diddy's behalf, but I'm going to reach out and say, hey, I represent Diddy in this case. Do you mind talking to me? If you then take that and then call the state and say Diddy's using third-party people to reach out to me, that's not intimidation. I have to build a defense for my client. So I have to reach out and talk to them. So I don't know what's true yet, right? Because all the evidence in the discovery is sealed. So all we got is the arguments on paper. But if the evidence is showing that the arguments they made at the bond hearing may not really be all that true, that's manipulation. And I see it all the time. I've had cases where the police reports were write up DUI case I had in Gwinnett County. The police report said that my client was driving, was weaving over the lanes. The officer stated that when he did the HGN test during the DUI investigation, that you could see the HGN in my client's eye, which is an involuntary jerking your eyes do when you have alcohol in it, and alcohol in your system to a certain level. And it's something you can't control. It's just something that your body will do, which is why they use it as one of the tests. And I had an expert review this evidence as well as myself looking at it. And not many times do you have the officer's body cam directly on someone's eyes, but in this case, it was. And not only were my client's eyes not bloodshot, red, and watery, as the police report stated, there was no HGN, no jerking of his eyes in the test at all. And you can see this clear as day. But the police report said it existed. I called the prosecutor. I said, hey, I want you to take a look at this video because I think that the officer is lying because the things that he says, I don't see. And guess what, y'all? She didn't even have to look at the tape. She looked at the police report and noted the officer and said, oh my God, I always have problems with this officer lying. I'm going to dismiss the DUI because I already know. I already know what you're saying is true. Isn't that crazy? Like somebody's arrested, had the bond out, we're getting ready to go to trial, and the officer is able to lie in the police report to bolster his claims. And when it gets to court, it's actually not what they say it is. And this is like why sometimes you have to go to trial and make them prove their case. Because it's not about what you know, it's not about what you say, it's not about what you argue, it's about what you can prove. And this is why during opening statements, there were some objections and stuff made, and why the judge continues to tell the jury nothing the prosecutor says is evidence. Because remember, Ms. Love got up there at the beginning in her opening and said that she had all this evidence it was going to show. It was going to show that, oh, the Jeffrey Williams was the wolf. He was the leader of the pack. It was this and that. And we saw 11 months of trial and they didn't prove none of that shit. None of that shit. But she was able to stand up and opening and say it. Yes, always, forever, for life says cops lie all the time. They do. They do. They are under pressure. They have quotas that they have to meet. They have supervisors that they have to answer to. They have people that are above them that want that put pressure on them. And sometimes they lie. And they may not be intentionally lying to, they might not even be thinking about the result on the other end, but they have pressures on them and that causes them to do bad things sometimes if they don't have the integrity. Star Child says, I thought that the feds have an above 90% guilty verdict success rate, cases where they're confident in winning. I'm confused that they don't have proper evidence. They do, but within 90 means 10% of the cases people win, right? I think Paul Howard just had a federal case after the election when Fonnie became DA, and he represented himself and won. The old mayor of Atlanta, Campbell, had a federal case back in the day, and some of his charges he was able to win on. So while they do have a 90% conviction rate, 10% of those cases they don't convict on. And I'm not saying that they don't have the evidence in this case because we can't see the discovery. All we can do is look at the attorney's arguments. But as attorneys, we think that we have candor that we have to present to the court. So we don't get up there and just make up stuff, right? And because the state's going to be able to come back and say their things too. And discovery, although we can't see it, it actually exists. So at some point, the court will get to really see what the actual evidence is. But in that meantime, Diddy is behind bars, away from his family, maybe rightfully so. But the point is that they get to make these arguments against him getting bond before his attorneys get to have all the evidence in the case. And so is that manipulation when the state can make arguments that may or may not be true, but we can't really combat it until we can get the discovery and see it, which could be months later? Let's see. Is that now? Okay, so this is something else that I thought was interesting, and some more facts were coming out about this case. And so this says that the defense counsel noted at the initial hearings that based on defense interviews and investigation, several individuals associated with a male companion agency have stated to the prosecutors that they are paid for their time, not for having sex. Now I paused and looked at this because I was just like, what? Okay, so there are allegations, and we've heard the rumors that there were male companions purchased, through agencies to participate in these freak-offs. And this is Diddy's attorneys basically confirming some of those allegations, right? Because it's stating that he used a male companion agency. And this is his attorneys are saying this. They're saying that the companion agency is not some secretive underground operation. It's been operating in the open for over a decade with a website of over 10,000 followers on Twitter, well, X, formerly Twitter, and its operations have been featured in well-known magazines. I'm like, who are you talking about? Y'all know what company they talking about? I have no clue. The CEO actively courts media attention, starred on a Showtime series about male companions, and has been repeatedly interviewed on national talk shows and the national news. According to the CEO, the company's services have exploded in popularity because of all of this publicity. So basically, they're saying that this company that Diddy got male escorts for were paid just for their time, not for sex, and that the government's allegations are incredibly weak and contradicted by the testimony of its own witnesses and the discovery received to date. So that's why they're asking for this bond. But I thought that was something that they were admitting, basically, that he used this male escort company. I don't know the name of the company, but anyway, the point is they're saying that the government was basically putting a little more stank on it than they actually had at the press conference. Now, are they just making arguments on behalf of their client, or are they being truthful? Has the evidence that they reviewed in discovery, is it a little weak? I don't know, and we won't know until trial starts, because in this case, the discovery has been sealed, so there won't be any leaks of evidence. There won't be any Lil Woody interviews leaked out or anything like that. So we're going to have to wait and find out. But that's Diddy's arguments for bond, is that we've looked at this evidence. It's weak. The state lied. They put a little extra on it. They put 20 on 10 at the press conference. They put 20 on 10 at the prior bond hearings. And they don't have the evidence. I need to be let out. So we're going to find out on Friday. Will he finally get bond? I mean, he actually called out some cases and some bonds that the judges in this court and in his case have given out recently, and they were less restrictive than his. They were like curfew, less amount of a bond money, not 50 million. But Diddy is Diddy though, right? Does anybody else compare? Like, even if they charge with the same thing, does anybody compare to Diddy? I mean, Diddy, I don't know if he's getting bond, y'all. What y'all think? I don't know. It could be gigolos. We got to see. It's some kind of company. They said it's a bad escort company that show on Showtime. So y'all gonna have to tell me. It could be gigolos. I'm not sure, but I was just like, I paused when I saw that, because I was like, okay, well, we heard rumors, but some of this is confirmation that you hired male escorts. Okay, Diddy. All right. Yes, I did see that interview. Where he named Rick Ross and DJ Khaled. So like that, but that's the kind of stuff I want to see. Like, where are these unindicted co-conspirators? Where are the people that supposedly helped? He said that there were plenty of people that helped Diddy get the baby oil, smuggle the girls, spike the drug people. Where are all those people at? Like, where are they? And I know there's a such thing as unindicted co-conspirators. There's a lot of that in the R. Kelly case. Like, just because you're not in the indictment doesn't mean you're being charged. You could be a co-conspirator that we're looking at, and the feds will come and talk with you. They'll get your statement and they'll basically say cooperate and we won't charge you. And those people won't be listed in indictment, but they will still be part of the RICO conspiracy. And so maybe they exist, but all the victims will be in the indictment. And right now we got victim one, we got Cassie still. And I'm just like, we're a year. Almost yesterday was a year that Cassie filed her lawsuit. Cassie got paid her $30 million last year, and she's still the only victim in this mega federal investigation. And it's just kind of disheartening a little bit. Like, come on, get with it. So maybe more charges will come. They got the trial set for May, so they have 6 months to get some stuff together. Patrick Humboldt says he won't get bond. They want to control the narrative. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get bond. Y'all see the video he did recently? I think it was his birthday and his babies. I forgot he had the little girl, the little bitty baby. She maybe one was singing him happy birthday. Like, but I don't think he's gonna get bond. I do not think he's going to get bond. How did the feds respond to prove why his bond should be denied again? They basically said in their answer that Diddy's lying, his counsel's being untruthful. They made all these same arguments before, basically doubling down on their arguments. But because discovery is sealed, we can't get the information to know who's right. They're just going back and forth, but not into a trial. We'll be able to find out. LOL says, you are very knowledgeable, lady. You are also very disciplined on your fit journey. Never give up. Thank you so much, LOL. And that'll be some other stuff that I'll be bringing as exclusive content to the membership, is talking about that fitness journey, because it has been life-changing and led to the name, the Fit Lawyer ATL. So I'll be sharing kind of behind the scenes, talk about that as well, and how the journey that I did lose 150 pounds in a year, in a month, through the amazing process called the 40-day turn up. And I'll be doing a live segment with Dr. Joe from that this coming up soon. So I'll share that on this channel so you all can check that out too and get to know that side of my journey as well. She a Diddy fan. Who a Diddy fan? Who? I mean, we would used to be Diddy fans now, but look here now. I think Diddy need to be under the jail if he did everything they said in that press conference. I'm just like, when are we gonna see that evidence come out? What he did to Cassie was horrible, and I mean, he's getting everything he deserves, and I don't think he will be let out at all. But it's two sides to everything. The scary part is being drugged and not knowing. Keep him in his new crib. I know that's right, Khadijah. I heard that he used to spike the Ciroc bottles and then get girls to come into the VIP stuff, and you're spiking. Like, but where are those victims? Where are those people? Like, those are the things, that charges that I want to see added to his indictment, because that's horrible things to do. But are they going to be able to get that evidence to be able to charge him with those crimes? That's what I want to see. That is so crazy. Someone, Sweetscape says no bond. Yeah. I mean, he's already asked twice. He's offering everything, y'all. $50 million bond, passports, other family members' passports. He's gonna lock himself in the house, hire security. I mean, but him calling these witnesses from the prison, using other inmates' PAC numbers. If they truly, and that's what the government said in their response, they mentioned some of those things. And if they truly have evidence to show that, he ain't getting no bond, and he's gonna end up with more charges, because witness tampering is a charge. Forever, for always, forever, for life states, we all deserve a fair trial. That's the Constitution, even though I can't stand his sneaky ass. That's it. I mean, as a defense attorney, I represent some people that I know are guilty, and I represent some people that I know are innocent. And just because you're guilty, or just because you did something, a crime that you're charged with, doesn't mean you're guilty. They have to be able to prove it in court, and they have to go about it the right way, right? Just because they know you can do something, the police lie and steal. Just like I think the lead covered a video yesterday, and it was showing how the officers were going through this guy's trash can without a search warrant as they were lined up against the house. That's evasion of privacy, violation of his Fourth Amendment rights. Like, you have to do things the right way. And so as defense attorneys, that's one of the first things we start looking at in the case. Like, pause, don't tell me what happened. Let me just look at what they have and see where I can poke holes at. Did they get the search warrants properly? Did they really have probable cause? Did they have articulable suspicion to stop you? I have a case pending in Washington County right now where we're making an argument that the police didn't have articulable suspicion to even make the stop. So even though after you made the stop, you found some things and drugs and all this other illegal activity, did you have the legal right to even make the stop? So a lot of that goes into these cases. So it's not just about how we feel about Diddy, how we feel about the stuff. Did we see the video? The statute of limitations is passed. For everything that we saw on that video, that hotel, the statute of limitations is passed. And so what's the new evidence? What are they going to be able to use in court to convict him? That's what we're waiting to see. Yeah, I am. I'm non-biased. I don't have proof. We can't see it. I'm just telling you what his attorneys are arguing and what the state is arguing, and just showing you the ways that things could be manipulated, because at the initial bond hearings, his attorneys don't even have all the evidence. And that's the same way if one of you all get arrested. If you get arrested today and have a bond hearing tomorrow, I'm not going to have all the evidence. I'm going to be fighting against the state and what they say there occurred, but without all the evidence. So I hope you all have enjoyed the live tonight. I really just wanted to highlight just how many different ways the state, the government can use manipulation and force to force people to testify, to make you have no bond while your case is pending, because they make these allegations to the judge that they really can't prove. But the proving part comes months later, right? Bond hearing is when you initially get arrested. I want to give a shout out to all the new members that we gained. Shout out to Chi-Town Carey for gifting people with memberships today. Curvy Lock Diva joined today as a member. GB became a member today. Mango Gelato became a member. And y'all, memberships just went live today. So this is amazing that people are already becoming members to the channel. So y'all are like day ones for real in the membership. So L. Atkins became a member. Mixed Chick became a member. Tamara O became a member. And Mixed Chick gifted members. Memberships, I thank you so much. Just Lee became a new member. Shout out to all the members. Shout out to our stream sponsor, Keita G. Keita G blessed this channel with $100 in super chats tonight. I'm so grateful for that. Met Keita G over in the leads chat and in AV chat. So to see that love and support transfer over, I just really appreciate it. If y'all can put Keita G in the chat, she is our stream sponsor tonight. I just really want to thank you all. Dr. Chief Johnson says, amazing fit on your health and wellness journey. I can't wait to hear about. I can't wait to share that with you all because I know there are so many people that struggle with health and weight. And so I just hope to be an inspiration to let you all know that no matter how far away you get and fall off, that there is a way to come back without using things that could put you in harm's way and all of that stuff. And we'll get into that, like I say, behind the scenes. Yes, forever, for always, forever, for life. I keep reading your name faster than I'm looking at it. I love hearing from an attorney. Thank you so much. I love just coming on and sharing with you guys. It's just been amazing, and I hope that you all keep tuning in. I'm going to keep giving out more content. YSL will be cranking up again this week. We thought the state was going to be rested already, but it's just more shit. Michael Love, thank you so much. Michael Love, what does he say? Isn't there another big trafficking case the feds are trying to fight in New York, the one against the Chinese guys? I got to look into that. I'm going to put that on my list to check out. I haven't seen that. I know Floyd Mayweather is caught up in a RICO kind of case as well, so that's being kept hush hush. So we're going to be getting into that as well. But I got to check out the one with the Chinese guys and see what's going on. Thank you, Just Lee says, great live. Thank you. I'm glad that you all enjoyed it. I'm glad you all learned a lot. Thank you for tuning in. Like I say, I'm working on bringing some of the YSL attorneys before you all in some interviews, so hopefully we can make that happen this week. Trial will be starting back up Monday. Ms. Love is still on Vivarito. Listening to this dragging out. It's starting to feel like Charlie Brown now. It's like wah, 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 wah. Like, get to the point, because when they wrap it up, and we'll come back on probably Monday and chat, like, what happens when the state rests? What is the defense options? Do y'all think Doug and Max are going to present a defense, or they're going to make a motion to the court? I can't wait until the words come out of Miss Hilton's mouth when she says state rests. I cannot wait. Mick Chick says, please look at Diddy interview on Conan O'Brien. Yes, I will make a note of that and go check that out and see what that's all about. I've been seeing so many Diddy clips, like, since he's been in custody, and like old things that he said at like award shows, and like when we saw it originally, it really didn't mean anything, but now it's like, why are you inviting that 13-year-old girl to your house for a party? Now that we know what happens at your parties, why are you doing that? Like, Diddy has been kind of operating in plain sight for years, and so it's all catching up with him. But I need to see it in the case. I need to see it in the indictment. I need to see formal charges, okay, so that we can know that justice will be served, because that's what it's all about. So thank you all for tuning in. Oh, can somebody tell me did Georgia win? Because I haven't been looking. I hope we did, because we do not need another loss. But thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you. Shout out to all the moderators. Shout out to everyone who gave super chats. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all the new members that joined the channel. I hope to keep bringing you some exclusive content to make that membership worthwhile. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, none of this has been legal advice. I am not your attorney. This has just been legal commentary. And so, no matter if you send a super chat or a cash app, matter of fact, let me check the cash app before I log off. Yes, I have a cash app from Marv, and I'm so sorry, Marv, because you sent this at 10:53 and it's 12:30, so I got to do better about that. I'm not sure if you're still on or not, but he sent $5 saying, I am so happy to see you with your own channel. Thank you so much, Marv. God is just so good, and I am going to just just keep getting better and just stay in this. Teddy's mom, thank you so much for becoming a new member. Thank you so much. Yay, we won. Patrick Humble said we won. Yes, so excited. Georgia won. Thank you. Woo, because we did not need another loss. 31-17. Yes, because Tennessee has definitely been providing some upsets this year. So this has been one of the best college football seasons ever. NILs are equaling out the playing field. So it's been so amazing. So thank you for that update, Tamara. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. All right, Kirby Lock Diva says you definitely broke this down where I can understand, and I love it. That was the point of everything. I just wanted to kind of show those connections. So I'm glad that you all loved everything. I will be back, so stay tuned. Set your notifications once you subscribe to the channel to all, so you can get all the postings and heads up about the channel going live. And I will see you all again soon. Thank you so much. Thank you to all my channel moderators. Thank you for everyone who's blessed us with a super chat. Thank you for all the new members, and I will see you all soon.